We'll now be commencing with Dua Samaat. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أسألك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم الذي إذا دعيت به على مغالق أبواب السماء للفتح بالرحمة انفتحت، وإذا دعيت به على مضايق أبواب السماء مضايق أبواب الأرض للفرج انفرجت، وإذا دعيت به على العسر لليسر تيسرت، وإذا دعيت به على الأموات للنشور انتشرت، وإذا دعيت به على كشف البأساء والضراء انكشفت، وبجلال وجهك الكريم أكرم الوجوه وأعز الوجوه الذي عنت له الوجوه وخضعت له الرقاب وخشعت له الأصوات ووجلت له القلوب من مخافتك، وبقوتك التي بها تمسك السماء أن تقع على الأرض إلا بإذنك، وتمسك السماوات والأرض أن تزولا، وبمشيئتك التي دان لها العالمون، وبكلمتك التي خلقت بها السماوات والأرض، وبحكمتك التي صنعت بها العجائب، وخلقت بها الظلمة وجعلتها ليلا، وجعلت الليل سكنا، وخلقت بها النور وجعلته نهارا، وجعلت النهار نشورا مبصرا، وخلقت بها الشمس وجعلت الشمس ضياء، وخلقت بها القمر وجعلت قمر نورا، وخلقت بها الكواكب وجعلتها نجوما وبروجا ومصابيح وزينة ورجوما، وجعلت لها مشارق ومغاربا، وجعلت لها مطالع ومجاري، وجعلت لها فلكا ومسابح، وقدرتها في السماء منازل فأحسنت تقديرها، وصورتها فأحسنت تصويرها، وأحصيتها باسمك إحصاء، ودبرتها بحكمتك تدبيرا، وأحسنت تدبيرها، وسخرتها بسلطان الليل وسلطان النهار والساعات وعدد السنين والحساب، وجعلت رؤيتها لجميع الناس مرءا واحدا. وأسألك اللهم بمجدك الذي كلمت به عبدك ورسولك موسى بن عمران عليه السلام في المقدسين فوق إحساس الكروبين، فوق غمائم النور، فوق تابوت الشهادة، في عمود النار، وفي طور سيناء، وفي جبل حوريث، في الوادي المقدس، في البقعة المباركة من جانب الطور الأيمن من الشجرة، وفي الأرض مصر ب9 آيات بينات، ويوم فرقت لبني إسرائيل البحر، وفي منجبسات التي صنعت بها العجائب في بحر سوف، وقدت ماء البحر في قلب الغمر كالحجارة، وجاوزت ببني إسرائيل البحر، وتمت كلمتك الحسنى عليهم بما صبروا، وأورثتهم مشارق الأرض ومغاربها التي باركت فيها للعالمين، وأغرقت فرعون وجنوده ومراكبه في اليم. وباسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم، وبمجدك الذي تجليت به لموسى كليمك عليه السلام في طور سيناء، وإبراهيم عليه السلام خليلك من قبل في مسجد الخيف، وإسحاق صفيك عليه السلام في بئر شيح، وليعقوب نبيك عليه السلام في بيت إيل، وأوفيت إبراهيم عليه السلام بميثاقك، وإسحاق بحلفك، وليعقوب بشهادتك، وللمؤمنين بوعدك، وللداعين بأسمائك فأجبت، وبمجدك الذي ظهر لموسى بن عمران عليه السلام على قبة الرمان، وبآياتك التي وقعت على الأرض مصر بمجدك العزة والغلبة، بآيات عزيزة وبسلطان القوة وبعزة القدرة وبشأن الكلمة التامة، وبكلماتك التي تفضلت بها على أهل السماوات والأرض وأهل الدنيا وأهل الآخرة، وبرحمتك التي مننت بها على جميع خلقك، وباستطاعتك التي أقمت بها على العالمين، وبنورك الذي قد خر من فزعه طول سيناء، وبعلمك وجلالك وكبريائك وعزتك وجبروتك التي لم تستقل لها الأرض وانخفضت لها السماوات وانزجر لها العمق الأكبر وركدت لها البحار والأنهار وخضعت لها الجبال وسكنت لها الأرض بمناكبها واستسلمت لها الخلائق كلها وخفقت لها الرياح في جريانها وخمدت لها النيران في أوطانها، وبسلطانك الذي عرفت لك به الغلبة الدهر الدهور وحمدت به في السماوات والأرضين، وبكلمتك كلمة الصدق التي سبقت لأبينا آدم عليه السلام وذريته بالرحمة، وأسألك بكلمتك التي غلبت كل شيء، وبنور وجهك الذي تجليت به للجبل فجعلته دكا وخر موسى صعقا، وبمجدك الذي ظهر على طور سيناء فكلمت به عبدك ورسولك موسى بن عمران، وبطلعتك في ساعير وظهورك في جبل ثاران بربوات المقدسين وجنود الملائكة الصافين وخشوع الملائكة المسبحين، وببركاتك التي باركت فيها على إبراهيم خليلك عليه السلام في أمة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله، وباركت لإسحاق صفيك في أمة عيسى عليهما السلام، وباركت ليعقوب إسرائيلك في أمة موسى عليهما السلام، وباركت لحبيبك محمد صلى الله عليه وآله في عترته وذريته وأمته. اللهم وكما غبنا عن ذلك ولم نشهده وآمنا به ولم نره صدقا وعدلا، أن تصلي على محمد وآل محمد وأن تبارك على محمد وآل محمد، وترحم على محمد وآل محمد كأفضل ما صليت وباركت وترحمت على إبراهيم وآل إبراهيم، إنك حميد مجيد فعال لما تريد، وأنت على كل شيء قدير. اللهم بحق هذا الدعاء وبحق هذه الأسماء التي لا يعلم تفسيرها ولا يعلم باطنها غيرك، صل على محمد وآل محمد، وافعل بي ما أنت أهله ولا تفعل بي ما أنا أهله، واغفر لي من ذنوبي ما تقدم منها وما تأخر، ووسع علي من حلال رزقك، واكفني مؤونة إنسان سوء وجار سوء وقرين سوء وسلطان سوء، إنك على ما تشاء قدير وبكل شيء عليم. آمين رب العالمين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
يا الله يا حنان يا منان يا بديع السماوات والأرض يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا أرحم الراحمين، اللهم بحق هذا الدعاء وبحق هذه الأسماء التي لا يعلم تفسيرها ولا تأويلها ولا يعلم باطنها ولا ظاهرها غيرك، أن تصلي على محمد وآل محمد، وأن ترزقني خير الدنيا والآخرة، وافعل بي ما أنت أهله ولا تفعل بي ما أنا أهله، وانتقم لي من أعدائي، واغفر لي من ذنوبي ما تقدم منها وما تأخر، ولوالدي ولجميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات، ووسع علي من حلال رزقك، واكفني مؤونة إنسان سوء وجار سوء وسلطان سوء وقرين سوء ويوم سوء وساعة سوء، وانتقم لي ممن يكيدني وممن بغي علي ويريد بي وبأهلي وأولادي وإخواني وجيراني وقرباتي من المؤمنين والمؤمنات ظلما، إنك على ما تشاء قدير وبكل شيء عليم. آمين رب العالمين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم بحق هذا الدعاء تفضل على فقراء المؤمنين والمؤمنات بالغناء والثروة، وعلى مرضى المؤمنين والمؤمنات بالشفاء والصحة، وعلى أحياء المؤمنين والمؤمنات باللطف والكرامة، وعلى أموات المؤمنين والمؤمنات بالمغفرة والرحمة، وعلى مسافر المؤمنين والمؤمنات بالرد إلى أوطانهم سالمين غانمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد خاتم النبيين وعترته الطاهرين وسلم تسليما كثيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بھیا میں آ گئی ہوں نانا کے دین بچا کے. بھیا میں آ گئی ہوں نانا کے دین بچا کے. جاؤں گی اب مدینہ جاؤں گی اب مدینہ چہلم تیرا منا کے. بھیا میں آ گئی ہوں نانا کے دین بچا کے. معلوم ہے یہ تم کو زینب اجر چکی ہے لیکن تیری شہادت گھر گھر پہنچ گئی ہے. شاباش دو بہن کو شاباش دو بہن کو بھیا گلے لگا کے. بھیا میں آ گئی ہوں نانا کا دین بچا کے. بھیا تمہاری زینب اب وہ نہیں رہی ہے. پہچان لوگے مجھ کو حالت بدل گئی ہے. چلتی ہے یہ ضعیفہ چلتی ہے یہ ضعیفہ بھائی کمر جھکا کے. بھیا میں آ گئی ہوں نانا کا دین بچا کے. سجاد اور باقر دیں گے گواہی میری. کھائے ہے تازیان بنتے علی نے پھر بھی لے آئی شامیوں سے لے آئی شامیوں سے وارث تیرے بنا کے. بھیا میں آ گئی ہوں نانا کا دین بچا کے. کیسے بتاؤں بھیا بازار میں جو گزری. کہتے تھے سب کو مارو یہ ہے علی کی بیٹی. بابا کے بھی میں بدلے بابا کے بھی میں بدلے سب آئی ہوں چھکا کے. بھیا میں آ گئی ہوں نانا کے دین بچا کے. امت نے تجھ پہ بھائی رونے کہاں دیا ہے. جھی بھر کے میں نے ماتم تیرا کہاں کیا ہے. روئے گی آج زینب نانا کا دین بچا کے، گھر جا کے کیا کروں گی، پہلو میں ہی سلا لو، اکبر سے کہہ کے مجھ کو تربت کی جا دلا دو، مالک ہو تم تو بھائی، مالک ہو تم تو بھائی، جاگیر کربلا کے، بھیا میں آ گئی ہوں نانا کا دین بچا کے، جاؤں گی اب مدینہ، جاؤں گی اب مدینہ، چہلم تیرا منا کے، بھیا میں آ گئی ہوں نانا کا دین بچا کے، محمد وال محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم۔
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد۔ جزاک اللہ۔
اور محمد وآل محمد صلوات۔
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد۔
شاہ کی لا دلی جب کہہ دیے زندان ہوئی، روئی گھبرائی بہت اور پریشان ہوئی، قید خانے کی گھٹن موت کا سامان ہوئی، ارے جان لگتا تھا کہ معصوم کی بے جان ہوئی، لاش شبیر کی مقتل میں تڑپ جاتی تھی، قید خانے سے جو بچی کی صدا تھی، اب مجھے کوئی سکینہ نہیں کہتا بابا، اب مجھے کوئی سکینہ نہیں کہتا بابا، قیدی کہتا ہے کوئی، قیدی کہتا ہے کوئی یتیمہ بابا، اب مجھے کوئی سکینہ نہیں کہتا بابا. میں بیاں کیسے کروں اپنی مصیبت تم سے، کیا کروں اپنے تماچوں کی شکایت تم سے. سنتی ہوں دادی نے کھایا تھا تماچا بابا، اب مجھے کوئی سکینہ نہیں کہتا بابا. نیل رخساروں پہ بینائی بھی جس کی کم ہو، عمر ہو 4 برس اور کمر میں خم ہو، آپ نے دیکھی ہے کیا، آپ نے دیکھی ہے کیا ایسی ضعیفہ بابا، اب مجھے کوئی سکینہ نہیں کہتا بابا. آپ تھے دور تو میں سارے ستم سہتی رہی، آپ تھے دور تو میں سارے ستم سہتی رہی. ارے رو پری کوفے کے دربار میں سہ نہ سکی، آپ کے سامنے جب، آپ کے سامنے جب شمر نے مارا بابا، اب مجھے کوئی سکینہ نہیں کہتا بابا. وہ تو بیمار تھی مر جاتی سفر میں آ کے، ارے دفن کرتے اس بازار میں بھیا کیسے، یہ تو اچھا، یہ تو اچھا ہوا ہی نہیں صغرا بابا، اب مجھے کوئی سکینہ نہیں کہتا بابا. ارے قیدی کہتا ہے کوئی، قیدی کہتا ہے کوئی یتیمہ بابا، اب مجھے کوئی سکینہ نہیں کہتا بابا. اور محمد و آل محمد صلوات.
مؤمنين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. عالم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بأبي عبد الله الحسين عليه السلام. May Allah increase the reward of all the mu'mineen for our grief in commemorating the musibah of Lady Zainab and the trials that befell the family of Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. A reminder that the deadline to complete the Wessex health survey is tomorrow. If you haven't done so already, please kindly complete this using the link that has been circulated or speak to one of the reps for a paper copy. Inshallah, tomorrow morning there will be a children's Azadari program including an Arba'een Julus here at the Al-Mahdi Center at 11:30 a.m. All children and parents are encouraged to attend and to bring banners for the procession. Thereafter, the Jamaat Musliba program will commence with Dhuhr Salah at 1:03 p.m. Mu'mineen, we still have just under 10% remaining to reach our target for the Muharram and Safar fund. Tonight is the night of Arba'een, and so I request each of you, with the blessings of this holy night, please do make a donation so that we may reach our target over the next 24 hours. If you have not yet made a donation, then do not let this opportunity pass for your name to be written amongst those who have established these programs of Azar, those who are the lovers of Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. For those who have already contributed, we thank you for your generosity. However, do not miss the opportunity of this blessed night to gain a further reward that only Allah can enumerate. For any queries or assistance, with donations, please speak to myself or the treasurer, Sister Zahra Ramani. Can I please request the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha for the marhumeen of those who have sponsored towards the program and the Niyaaz Surah Al-Mubarakat Al-Fatiha. Before I welcome Shaykh for the Majlis this evening, can I please request all the mu'mineen to kindly stand and just take a few steps forward and come towards the front of the hall. So please feel free from the side to come into the main hall as well with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Can I ask the mu'mineen once again to join me in welcoming Shaykh Mirza Abbas for the Majlis with the recitation of 3 loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Rahimallahu man qara al-Fatiha for the shifa of a very young boy, 6 years old, who was diagnosed with cancer. He started radiotherapy, 6 weeks of radiotherapy and then chemotherapy. His name is Sayyid Mukhtar Zaidi. Please recite the Fatiha for his shifa and shifa for all Jumla Mu'mineen and Mu'minat who are in need of du'as. Bismillah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله أوله بلا أول كان قبله وآخره بلا آخر يكون بعده الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين. الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا حبيبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد
وعلى الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم والسلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. We extend our condolences to the Imam of our time on this eve of Arba'een, and also tonight and today being the day of Friday, the day of Imam al-Asr alayhi salam. And also we would like to attract the presence of our 12th Imam by remembering Abul Fazl Abbas tonight. They say that the presence of the 12th Imam is in the Majlis where the zikr of Abul Fazl is there. Because Abul Fazl is the true manifestation of what ita'at to an Imam means. He is the role model. Abul Fazl is the role model. Al-Mu'ti'u lillahi wa li rasulih. He was somebody who was in full of obedience to the Imam. And also, it has, as we are talking about ziyarat, one of the etiquettes of ziyarat, as we all know, that we go to Abul Fazl first for ziyarat. At least for the first time when we are going, we go to the ziyarat of Hazrat Abbas, and then after that we go to Imam Hussain alayhi salam, because he is the door to Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And a great scholar who was, his name was Sayyid Ali Qazi Tabatabai. He was a teacher of Allama Tabatabai. He was a very mysterious figure, very mysterious personality. He was also teacher of Ahmed as well. And he says that for 40 years I practiced heavy, severe self-watchfulness, muraqabah, and spirituality and spiritual exercises, zikr, so on and so forth. But I wasn't able to conquer the fort of Tawheed, the fort of that sort of understanding of oneness of God, that annihilation, that fana in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? So I couldn't do that. For 40 years I practiced. It wasn't allowing me to reach. And then as we all know that he says the door to a person will never be able to reach the highest level of ma'rifat, of understanding of Allah, unless or until it's through Abu Abdullah Hussain alayhi salam. It is through him. It's through Imam Hussain one will be able to understand. In one of his sayings is that Bahjat says the same thing, emphasizes on Ziyarat Ashura, emphasizes on Ziyarat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, emphasizes on Majlis of Imam Hussain. Qazi would say that every Thursday night, even if you can't attend Majlis in your house, have a zikr of Imam Hussain with your children, with your friends, 1-2 people enough, but you should have that. They emphasize so much on the Majalis of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And it is actually through these ulama and scholars, we are able to learn the etiquettes. We are able to learn how to express our love, how to understand their maqam. It is through them. It is through them we understand. Not through, yes, the university professor and so on and so forth. They may have some good, intellectual understanding. But in terms of that etiquette, in terms of that adab, it is through our scholars, through our ulama, through our mahajir, we understand. Ayah Haraki, marhum, Ayatul Haraki, as we are talking about ziyarat, he would say the adab of ziyarat of Hazrat Masuma is first to go to the ziyarat of Hazrat Aghay Qummi, who is buried in Shaykhain. He was a scholar. Aghay Qummi was a scholar. And you go first to him and do tawassul to him. And then after that, you go to ziyarat of Hazrat Masuma. Aghay Qummi was a scholar. And he is the sort of door for Hazrat Masuma, right? So these understanding of how to approach, what is the methodology, to attract those souls, it is by these people who have dedicated all their life to ilm, to knowledge, to science. Obviously, our Maraji, if they would have been in, secular sciences, they would be genius. But they focused on, Quran, on Hadith, Sayyid Abul Qasim Khui, Ridwanullah alayhi. Look at the book of Rijal that he wrote on biographical narrative studies, the book that he has. I remember Aghay Khalkhali, Daftare Aghay Sistani, Aghay Khalkhali, Sayyid Khalkhali, his father, he was mentioning to me that his father when he used to, who was buried alive. Khalkhali's father was buried alive in his house. There were a few friends of a student of Khoui. Saddam buried them alive in the house itself. He bulldozed the house again. So Khalkhali was mentioning, I Sayyid Khalkhali, who works in the office of Sistani here, Kashmiri, that his father would, when he would visit Khoui in summer, inside the house, right? He would be wearing a vest, midsummer, Najaf, hot, and he would have a barrel of water, and he would have a book in his hand, and he would put water, and then he would keep on studying, Right? This is how they dedicated their life to the teachings of Ahl Bayt. Right? And that's why in return, look the honor that he has. Look the honor that, Muqaddas al-Dabiri have. In the minaret of Amirul Mu'mineen, there's a grave of Muqaddas al-Dabiri. Shaykh Ansari, other scholars who are there. So as tonight being night of Arba'een, and these scholars we have a haqq, they have a haqq on our neck. Let's all, in the increase of the daraja, recite one loud salawat for all of them. So my Qazi was saying that I wasn't able to reach that maqam, that level of understanding, that to have that vision of Tawheed, right? So there was a mad person who used to be in Karbala, and he would say that for hajat, for everything is Abbas. In some of these places, in Ziyarat places, you have people, and this mad person would also sit in classes, and people would make fun of him. He would say strange things, but he would always say that, the door is Abbas. So he passed by me, and he was mentioning this in his own world. Then I said, okay, I'll go do my Maghrib in Abul Fazl Haram, and then after that I will do my Isha. I'll visit Imam Hussein. So he says, I went there, I started my Maghrib. As soon as I started my Maghrib, that is the time where I experienced that communion with God that I've never experienced. The whole world changes around me. And I started to shiver and shake. And I couldn't control. I quickly prayed. And then I went home and I asked my wife to, give me something warm, to take care of him and stuff. The whole world changed for me, and I reached to that highest level of understanding through tawassul to Abul Fazl. And then he says that Abul Fazl is the Kaaba awliya. Abul Fazl is the Kaaba of the walis, of the awliya. What is the symbolic value of, Abul Fazl as being the Kaaba? What do we do after the tawaf of Kaaba? We go in sajda. We pray 2 rakat prayer behind Maqam Ibrahim, because the reward of doing that tawaf, of going up the 7 heavens, you reach to the 7th, you fall in sajda, which is you pray. So when you do the tawaf of Abul Fazl, you will reach to the point of understanding that what true Tawheed is. Right? So Abul Fazl Abbas is that individual, that personality through which hajats are given. And tonight is the night of the Arba'een of Imam Hussein. So how can it not be possible that we attend to Abul Fazl first, and then after that we, do the Ziyarat Arba'een of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. For the pleasure of Abul Fazl Abbas alayhi salam, let's recite a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
As we are looking at the etiquettes of ziyarat and the importance of ziyarat, and ziyarat being very central to our creed, to our faith, so much emphasis on ziyarat, there's a purpose and reason for that. The reason for that is, for example, when I was just reflecting on a few points while looking at the ziyarat, we find that ziyarat is a treaty of faith. When we are reciting ziyarat, it is a treaty of our faith. We begin by pronouncing the shahada, by acceptance of the Prophet, of the malaika, of the anbiya and everybody, and then we give salutations and salam. It's our treaty of faith. Ziyarat is actually as an oath and our allegiance for what the Imam have stood for, for that truth. And we are paying allegiance to that Imam. Right? And our Imam is alive. So our visitation to the Imam, this walk from Najaf to Karbala, and this walk of Arba'een is actually, is paying allegiance to the Imam, that we are ready to walk on this path which Imam Hussein stood for if Imam comes, if the 12th Imam arrives. Ziyarat is actually a stance. We are taking a stance here. When we are pronouncing all of those things in the Ziyarat, if we translate that, this is my stance here. This is where I am. This is who I am. This is what I believe in. Oh Imam, you did this, and those people, for example, in Ziyarat Arba'een, which will, reflect a bit tomorrow more, that those people, in order to achieve their dunya, they have killed you. In the end bit of the Ziyarat Arba'een, that's what we recite, right? And it's a pronouncement of our standpoint. It's actually our worldview. The whole Ziyarat is our worldview. How we believe into the Imams, who they are, what they are. Ziyarat is actually a definition, an introduction of Imams and Masumeen alayhimus salam. So we have to pay attention to this way, as they say that when we recite Ziyarat, the hijab haye, the veils of understanding, the veils of darkness is lifted from our heart by recitation of Ziyarat, by visitation. When we do Ziyarat, the hijab that is on our heart, that is lifted, that is taken away. We connect to the Imam, we connect to that marifat, we connect to that spirituality. That's the power in the Ziyarat of Masumeen alayhim salam. And we feel it and we have seen it. And that's why we yearn to go over and over again. Every time we go, we see a new world altogether there in terms of our understanding and inspiration. Ziyarat is actually, understanding of what existence is all about. The whole existence, what it is. The wujud and existence, the reality of existence is understood through Ziyarat. They say that particularly Ziyarat Ashura is actually a methodology of self-purification. Ziyarat Ashura is a complete methodology. Marahil Suluke Irfan is in Ziyarat Ashura. If somebody wants to know what are the different levels of purification, one should really focus on Ziyarat Ashura, not just by reciting, trying to understand the different levels that are in there. There are so many du'as in Ziyarat Ashura itself. There are 11 different types of du'as, and there are 11 different types of more of negative attributes of the enemies of Imam Hussein alayhi salam been mentioned there, and also same in the Ziyarat Arba'een as well. So Ziyarat is actually understanding the whole complexity of existence of the Imam, existence of the self, existence of the reality that is around. That happens through Ziyarat, through recitation of Ziyarat and understanding Ziyarat. It's actually our decision in life. What is our decision? The haqq is there. What are we going to do? Are we on the side of the Yazid, or are we? That's why we say that we are with you. I wish I was with you, O Imam Hussein, and that I would have sacrificed. Ya laytana kunna ma'ak. That's what we say, right? It's actually a commitment to the Imam. Like last night I was mentioning that, the Masumeen, Ahl Bayt, they are very kind and caring for us. They have done everything in order that we reach to a higher level, that we come out of this dunya in the best way possible. That's what because of their sacrifices. We said drinking water, giving salams to Imam, sawab of namaz shab. Taking steps towards the ziyarat of Imam, every step that you take, sawab of Hajj and Umrah. Go visit the Imam, sawab of Hajj. Hajj fuqara is ziyarat Imam Raza, as they say, right? So much. Look at this one. What could be the greatest and the best way to leave this dunya? One would say that, of course, a person who is martyred, who is shaheed, that's the best death ever. That a person is shaheed, that's the best death. Because all of the Imams were, right? Except the 12th Imam hates his reappearance, right? So the best death is shahada. That's what Imam Hussein in one of the hadith says, that death is like a necklace every person have in their neck. But the best death is considered as shahadat, right? Malik Ashtar request Imam Amirul Mu'mineen, you pray that I achieve Shahadat. But Imam says that yes, inshallah, you will achieve Shahadat with long life. So we have to pray for long life as well. Right? Last night there was a nice Marsia was recited. Oh Allah, bring me to Karbala and never return me back. It's a very emotional way of saying it. Yes, bring me to Karbala and never return me back to the dunya. I could come back. Give me long life. I go back again. Not that I come and die there. Okay, fine. Let my dunya die there. Because when you do that ziyarat, you disconnect. You don't have same interest as it was after the ziyarat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Right? After you do that ziyarat, you don't feel the same. Right? You will fall in love with Hussain. And that's what we should ask for. That we should fall in love. All of the ashab of Imam Hussain, they were ashiq. They were lovers of Imam Hussain. So when we love Imam Hussain, then Imam Hussain will take us to the places where we cannot imagine. And that's what he has done to his ashab. Hur was completely on the opposite, but look where Imam Hussain took Hur. Right? Hur was the reason why Imam Hussain got stuck in Karbala. Hur was the reason why Ibn Ziyad came to Kufa. But look, because of the love that he had for Imam Hussain, look what happened to him. And other ashab as well. None of them were on the level where they are capable of seeing their positions in paradise. But once they attached and they had that love of Imam Hussain showed them their maqam, where they are in paradise. Right? Imam Hussain accelerated the process of their ma'rifat, accelerated their process of their understanding of reality, of truth. Imam Hussain did that out of that love. So if we have the love of Imam Hussain, same thing happens to us as well. He will accelerate that process. Like as I was mentioning, look what the Ahlul Bayt did. So that we reach to the highest level of reward and thawab, we say, okay, the best way of death, we said, is shahada. What is the hadith it says? Man mata hubba ala Muhammad. A person who dies in the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, mata shahida. He died as a death of shahadat. A person is dying, in bed because of illness, whatever. May Allah give all our senior members, our parents, long life and health, with loads of tawfiqat to serve Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. But when the time comes, it is fixed. We all have to go. Maybe in a hospital, for example, or in a bed, a person is dying. But if he has the love or she has the love of Ahlul Bayt, he's dying a death of shahadat. What is the death of shahadat? So we put another hadith of the Imam next to it. Shaheed is looking the wajhullah when he is dying. Shaheed looks at the face of Allah when he is dying. When he's about to die, he's looking at the face of Allah. That's why it's known as Shaheed. Shaheed means somebody who's witnessing. Witnessing what? Witnessing the reality and truth. And that is, there is no existence but the existence of Allah. He's bearing witness to that wujud and that existence of God. He's looking at that reality. That is a Shaheed. So a person who is in love, who loves Ahlul Bayt, he has done nothing, he has that love of Ahlul Bayt, he will be rewarded or will be given the death of Shaheed. A Shaheed never dies. The Quran says that. The Hadith is saying a person loves Ahlul Bayt, he dies the death of Shahadat. Just that loves is giving that reward of Shahadat. That the highest level that a person could ever imagine. So this love that we have, which has been cultivated, installed by our parents, may Allah bless them. By that young age, they brought us here. Right? That's why we are here today. That's why when the name of Hussein is taken, our heart shakes. Right? And that's what we have to do to our children as well. Bring them here. They may not understand. Just them being here, their presence is very important. There are malaika, angels, right, in this very place. right? Arwah, here. It's a very beautiful place, very peaceful place. The best place that we can ever imagine are our centers. These are the lighthouses. Right? So when they are just here, things are taken care. Right? So this love is installed in us, is cultivated in our hearts from that very young age. And we have to make sure that we maintain and protect and save this love that we have. Right? As our parents give us so much, and in return, they don't really expect anything as such. Those who are not parents, when you will become parent, you will realize, they do it everything for their children, selflessly. They want their children to be successful. But when they realize that the child is into, for example, Nauzubillah, may Allah protect them, and may Allah bring all of our youth out if they are into drugs and these type of things, it hurts them. Because they have done everything, they have provided everything, or if they are not in education, they don't want to study, they are lazy, laid back, they're not responsible, not committed. All of these things, this kind of hurts. But at the same time, that love is there too. Still they will provide, still they will give, still they will take care, right? But it hurts them. The same way, the Ahl Bayt alayhi salam, they give us everything. Imam Hussein is the what do you call that? The Shakilid, the key, the master key of everything is Imam Hussein. The master key of everything. Whatever you want, Imam Hussein is the key. Right? Al-Bahawdini says that, besides Ziyarat Arba'een was a great scholar, marhum, who passed away recently, very great. There's no time to discuss about the stories of Al-Bahawdini. Anyway, what he says that, he says, recites Ziyarat Ashura, if you don't get the hajat, tell me, I'll get your hajat. It was a sayyid, Al-Bahawdini was, right? So what I'm saying is that Ahl Bayt, they are giving and providing everything, and they want the best for us. But in return, right, they don't expect that, I do ziyarat every day, I give salams to them every day. No, they don't want us to deviate from the path of Ahl Bayt. They don't want us to, commit sins, commit things that will dishearten them. It hurts them, right? We don't want to hurt them. It's enough. They've been hurt, already, And then me as a lover do something that is nasty, something that is not good. It's not right. It's not right. It's time to be disciplined, to be focused, right? Maybe we never know, as Bahjat used to say, maybe we take one step towards sin. We don't know where the next step will take us. Maybe we are taking one step. We'll look at na-mahram once. We don't know this, looking at one's na-mahram, how much of love of Hussein is taken away from my heart. I don't want that to happen. This love is a special love. I don't want to see something that will, put my heart a bit harder and doesn't allow that love of Hussein to remain in my heart. I don't want to do that because it's a very special thing given to me. This is not given to Tom, Dick, and Harry. It is given to me. And I know that this is very special. This is the truth and this is the reality. I know that, right? So we have to be careful. So a person who dies a normal death, just having that love of Ahl Bayt is rewarded. That means that he may not have that marifat, the tawhidi, that marifat of Allah, that understanding of Allah to that spiritual level, as all of these scholars and Urafa and Arifs that we talk about, these great scholars, right? Spiritual masters that are there. He may not have that. I may not have that. But at the end that I'm about to leave this world, because I have love of Ahl Bayt, this will be exhilarated. My understanding will quickly upgrade it. Allah will download things in my heart and in my mind that I will have the capacity to see the reality and truth when I'm about to leave this world. Right? That, like for example, in the margin, they say that, Mullah Sadra, a great philosopher, he says, death itself is perfection, regardless of who, of a Muslim or a non-Muslim, or death itself is perfection. Right? Yes, where that person goes in barzakh, that is something else. We are not talking about that. We are talking about what death is. Death is a perfection. Why? Because the soul have reached to a point, it has the capacity to dwell and to breathe in barzakh and to see the reality in barzakh. It's like the birth of a child. Coming to this world is perfection compared to the previous state. Because the previous state, the eyes did not have the capacity to grasp the light, the colors, the taste. The lungs were not ready to breathe in this world. That's why the womb was there. Then finally, when the lungs becomes perfect, it comes to this world so that it can breathe here and survive here, regardless of a child being a child of a, Muslim or non-Muslim or whatnot, a human being. The same way, death is a kamal, is a perfection, right? Because when when the soul is ready to dwell and be possible to live in barzakh, it reaches there. Yes, it may have done certain things which are good, where it enjoys and have pleasure. Like, for example, the child may be born in a family where the azan and aqama is given, and Ali and Waliullah is mentioned as a ni'mat, right? But it could be born in a place where, these things are not available for that person. It requires that person. That has its own philosophy. I don't want to get into that. But so they ask him that, how about people who die young? If death is perfection, that means that a person should get old and experience and then eventually ready to leave the world. That is the normal cycle of things, right? That's the normal cycle. But what about a person who dies young? He says that the process of the soul becoming perfect is accelerated for that person very quickly, so that it is easily for that person to go in barzakh. So the same way, the process of ma'rifat of the heart is accelerated because of the love of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Right? When the ashab of Imam Hussein love Imam Hussein alayhi salam, that process of ma'rifat is accelerated. John says, Ana Majnoon al Hussein, right? I'm the Majnoon of Hussein. As I say, Majnoon would go kiss the feet of dog. Majnoon, Layli and Layla and Majnoon, right? Famous, right? There were. Majnoon was known Majnoon because he was Ashiq of Layla, right? It's a very symbolic story that has so many beautiful divine realities within it. Layla is in Layl, Allah says, Wal Layla idha yakhsha, right? That Layl. Anyway, so Majnoon would go and kiss the feet of the dog. They would ask him, are you crazy? And he was Majnoon, crazy. So he said, why do you do that? He would say that because this dog sometimes goes in the house of Layla. That's the ishq that we should have of Hussein, of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. That halat, Majnoon. But this halat Majnoon is actually not crazy, huh? This is a person, Majnoon is very smart. He knows who to love. It's with full intellectual understanding. It's not like Junoon in that sense of any worldly or dunya we love. No. It's a true love. That is called Ma'rifat of the Imam, which Abul Fazl had of Imam Hussein, where Imam Hussein is a person of the battlefield. He says, you're not going. He's a man of the battlefield. He's waiting for this moment. All his life is that. He says, you're not going. Okay. Very simple, right? Going to the Furat and not drinking. Very easy for a person to drink, but he did not, right? So this is that sort of that understanding of who an Imam is. Right from that very young age to that age of 36, that young age, ready to rage and fight and prepared for war, right? So the Ma'rifat. Now for Ziyarat, there are certain things, as we said, there are a couple of other points that I will mention it later. Ziyarat itself is qurb ilahi, is nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When a person performs Ziyarat, he comes closer to Allah by the performance of it. He understands that, I was sitting next to, on a Thursday night, near the haram of Abu Abdullah, and Dua Kumail was going on. Sometimes it becomes very difficult. That tawajjuh to the Imam or to Allah, it's like, very difficult. For me personally, but then I said, this Dua Kumail is from the Imam, and imagine Imam with that maqam and kamal and perfection and infallibility and ismat and Imam and what he has done. And then in front of Allah, he's reciting Dua Kumail. Imagine what Allah is. Right? He's saying, I'm haqir and I'm faqir and I'm zaleel. Imam is mentioning that. Imam who is of that level. Imagine what Allah would be. So the more we love Imam, the more we understand Imam, the state of awe, the state of ma'rifat of Allah increases in our heart. With that all qudrat, with that all power, Amirul Mu'mineen, he goes in the wilderness and goes unconscious doing munajat, right? Right? He's scared of the qiyamah hereafter. What will happen? Who are we? Right? That kind of shakes us, kind of puts us on guard. Where are we going? What are we doing? Right? So, ziyarat is actually qurb ilahi. It brings that nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Apart from the riwayat that are all there, we could feel it, we know it. When we do ziyarat, automatically we come closer to Allah. It's qurbatan ilallah, right? And the other thing that is very important in ziyarat is the huzur of the qalb, which is the presence of the heart. Now, how to gain that presence of the heart? There are a few things which I would like to point out to when it comes to the presence of the heart. One of the things in the presence of the heart to bring about is actually by attracting the lutf, the grace, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to attract that. Perhaps because of this reason we have the aspect of, we give gifts and tabarruk and, by mokibs and all that are there. That's in order to attract that mercy, charity. Sadaqah, giving charity attracts the lutf of Allah. Right? We have to attract that. And perhaps the greatest of all lutf, indeed, is nothing but إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَتَهُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا صَلُّوا عَلَيْهِ وَسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
What magic this salawat have, we don't know. It's so powerful, this salawat. Right? Bahjat would say, for everything, you will go ask him, I have a problem, I have this issue. He will say, astaghfar. I have this problem, that issue. He said, but niyat on salawat. With the intention of that problem that you are facing, to get rid of that problem, recite salawat. Allah Tabai would say that if you face any problem, say le salawat rabbi face. Say means like flood of sal, flood it with salawat. If you have a problem, flood that problem with salawat. Salawat have that power, right? And that's why the Prophet also says that on the day of judgment, the person who will be closest to me is the one who recited the salawat the most, right? He will be the closest to me, right? So the attraction of the lutf ilahi, which will bring about the huzur qalb, the attraction of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will bring about the presence of the heart. So recitation of salawat, perhaps charity, sadaqah, all of these things, whatever means and ways that we could find by which the grace of Allah can be attracted towards us, that will bring the presence of the heart to us, right? The other thing that is important in terms of having the presence of the heart is seeking. Adu'uni astajib lakum. Right? The Quran says, ask Allah and Allah will accept. Asking is an indication of faqr wujudi, which means that the faqr that I have, the poverty that I have, and I'm expressing that. I don't have it, that's why I ask. Right? So the heart will come, will have focus in ziyarat when I realize that I am faqir, that I am in need. Right? And as a matter of fact, there are discussions in regards to can we ask Imam directly or can we take Imam as a tawassul? You know, there are ulama and scholars of great caliber. They say that, you know, Masoom is alive. You can ask them directly. Once again, it goes back to that tawheed and understanding. You know, when you have a key in your hand, when you move the key, are you going to say, you know, I'm trying to move the key? You're not going to say, I'm actually intending with the intention of moving the key and my hand is moving and the key is moving and it's opening the lock. Nobody speaks that way, you know. We say, I'm trying to move the key, it's not opening. The key is not opening. It's actually not the key, it's you, right? So the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, they are the wasila. It's through them, you know, mercies descend. You know, mercies descend through them. That's why recitation of salawat on them is actually reciting salawat on our own self. You know, that mercy comes to us when we send them. That's why we are not on a level. We are faqir. We are not on a level to really send something on them. We are saying Allahumma salli, not I. Because we have nothing. Who are we to send salawat? You know, it's Allah. That's why salamullahi. So, you know, in the ziyarat, that's why we recite salamullahi alaykum. Ma baqidu baqiya al-layl wan-nahar. It's a salamullah. You know, it's a salam of Allah. I'm nothing. I have no position. I'm not in a position of giving any salutations as such. It is Allah's salam. I'm just, you know, relaying that. I'm just becoming that medium, that vehicle for that salam to reach you. And a salam which is abad, which is forever, for eternity. That type of salam I really intend to have. You see? So, you know, Masumin alayhi salam, you know, talab, ask, seek. You know, seeking from Allah, seeking from them, you taking them as a wasila, actually come to the realization of that we are in a state of poverty. And Imam is the one through which, you know, things will be resolved. You know, he's the Babul Hawaij. He's the door for wherever we want to reach in terms of our manaviyah. And ziyarat tends to give us that qurb physically. That's why we go, because we are more, you know, we tend to, we are not on a level where spiritually strong that, you know, just by our spiritual connection, we could feel the presence of the Imam. We have to go closer to the shrine, to the chamber, to the center, you know, in order to feel that presence. Yes, a time will come where, with this closeness, eventually, that our heart will be prepared and ready, that wherever we are and we give salutations, we feel that in our heart. You know, that will take a bit of a time. That's why there's a narration from the 8th Imam who says that, you know, tears in the eyes flows automatically when the name of Hussein is taken, as there is sajda, in the same fashion, the verse of the wajib sajda. When you hear the sajda wajib verse, one will fall in sajda automatically. For some people it is automatically, but for us that's why it's become wajib. So we have to do that sajda. So the 8th Imam says that when the name of Hussein is taken, naturally the heart will melt. Because what Hussein have done, indeed, the sacrifice of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is unprecedented. How he suffered and how Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. I mean, not only, you know, just the death itself. I mean, it's very hard to sever the head, you know, from the neck, from the back, not from the throat. It's very difficult. You know, if you ask a butcher, it's not easy. And that even with a dagger that was not sharp. I mean, look at his suffering. I mean, how many things were used? Spears were used to attack. Swords were used. Right? Sticks were used. They said people who were old and they had nothing, they used their asa, their stick to hit Imam Hussein. People who had nothing, stones, they started hitting with the stones to Imam Hussein. I mean, what is this? Where can you find? In which narrative, in which book, storybook, or in which history you have ever seen that a man is been butchered in this fashion? It doesn't end here. They attack him, they killed him, they severed his head. Now is the time. It's all for reward, right? All for the dunya, all for the money. It doesn't end here, right? After that, what happened? They say, okay, we got to gallop the horses over the body of Imam Hussein. I mean, what is this? It's over, it's finished. No, call it's a day off now. That's finished now. He's dead. No. And we're going to gallop it in which way? First, we're going to gallop the chest of Imam Hussein. Then we'll twist his body and we'll gallop the back of Imam Hussein. It doesn't end here, right? Now we have to loot. We have to steal what is on the body of Imam Hussein. A man comes, try to pull the ring of Imam Hussein. I mean, to what level this person can be that he is unable to pull the ring of Imam Hussein. He takes a knife off, he chops the finger of Imam Hussein. Just leave him alone. In another maqtal, it says that Imam Hussein had a cloth tied on his back to cover himself. He tied it 7 times. One narration, it says, I have the reference of it, that a person comes, he tries to pull that even as well. After Imam Hussein is dead. This is after he's dead. The body tries to stop it. He hits the hand of Imam Hussein with a dagger. So much of suffering of our Abdullah Hussein. Very killing. And it doesn't end here. The women and children taken captive from near the body of Imam Hussein. I mean, here the women and children, while looking at the body of Imam Hussein in this state, they are suffering. Imagine Imam Hussein is not suffering to see Zainab. You know, when the head of Imam Hussein was put on the spear, it was not moving. They asked, why is the head not moving? Then they started to whip Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. Then Zainab moves forward and says, look, where is Sakina? If Sakina is not in the caravan, the head of Hussein will not move. The suffering of Imam Hussein, the suffering of Ahlul Bayt, the suffering of the Ashab, so much. And it doesn't end here. The suffering of brother of Imam Hussein, as we said, we'll talk about Abul Fazl. Some narrations and scholars have recited that all of the heads of the Shuhada were on spears, but there was one head of the Shaheed which was tied in the neck of the horse. They ask, why is that? Because they say whenever they put the head of Abul Fazl on the spear, it falls on the ground. He says, why? Because the women and children are without hijab, been taken captives and in chains in front of Namahram. The head cannot tolerate that. It falls on the ground. That is Abul Fazl. And then look at when the caravan reaches to Karbala, Al-Baneen comes out. When Bashir is saying that Hussein has been slain and killed, and Al-Baneen says, he cannot believe, where is Abbas? Where was Abbas? She kept on asking, where was Abbas? And here Bashir says that Abbas went on the Furat. And when he goes onto the Furat, he fills the water skin. And while he was returning back, there it was that an enemy hid behind the tree and severed the right hand of Abul Fazl Abbas. As he has the water skin, he takes in the left hand. Then the left hand of Abul Fazl Abbas was severed. Here in one of the dreams of a scholar, a lady comes and she says that you do not recite the Masaib of my son. The scholar thinks that the Masaib and Maqtal of Imam Hussein. He says, I do recite the Maqtal of Hussein. Then this lady, perhaps indication that this lady was Zahra, and she says that, no, my son Abbas, what is the Masaib? He says, every Shaheed who comes down from the steed of the horse, use the hand to support itself. But my son, when he comes down from the horse, there was no hands. He falls on his face. This is Abbas. When we go to Karbala, we have a visitation of different places where Abul Fazl's hand was severed. Look at the distance, how much is that distance? And there, Abul Fazl on the ground, and Hussein says, oh Abbas, my back is broken. And he reaches is the days of Arba'een, is the days of reminding the shahadat of the ashab of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Here Imam Hussein comes, places the head of Abul Faz in the lap. Some of the reciters have recited that Abul Faz moved the head from the lap of Imam Hussein. He says, Abbas, are you disappointed? Why are you moving your head from the lap? He says, I'm looking in few hours that you will be on the ground alone. Who will care for you, oh my master? And then here Imam Hussein alayhi salam says to Abu Bakr, do you have any wish? Do you have any will? Then he says that please do not take my body to the tents. Leave the body here. That's why we see that his haram of Abul Fazl Abbas near the Euphrates, how beautiful it is. And he says that please, because I had promised the children that I will bring water, but I cannot fulfill that promise. That's why he's Abul Faz. And then he says, leave my body here. And then Imam Hussein says, I have few things that I will request you to do. And that is, since you were young, you always call me master. You never call me brother. I would love to hear the word brother from your mouth, Abul Faz. And here it says, Abul Faz said 3 times in the command of the Imam that, oh my brother, oh my brother, oh my brother, and his soul departs. And here the body of Abul Fazl Abbas left there, and the alam and the alam was taken. The women and children came and doing Matam of Abul Fazl Abbas alayhi salam. This story was mentioned, this narrative was mentioned to Hazrat Baneen. They say that Hazrat Baneen every morning she will go to the grave of the Prophet and cry, and the ladies would cry and remember the sacrifices of the ashab and of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Ala lanatullah ala qawm zalimin sayyalamu alladhina zalamu ayyuhum qalbun one Matam Hussein. Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein.
पर्दा दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आए बाजारों में ज़ैनब पर्दा दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आए बाजारों में ज़ैनब पर्दा दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आए बाजारों में ज़ैनब पर्दा दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आए बाजारों में ज़ैनब घर से बाहर भी न आने वाली घर से बाहर भी न आने वाली आए बाजारों में ज़ैनब पर्दा दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आए बाजारों में ज़ैनब पर्दा दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आए बाजारों में ज़ैनब पर्दा दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आए बाजारों में ज़ैनब जिसने बाबा से छुड़ाए थे कई बार असीर जिसने बाबा से छुड़ाए थे कई बार असीर कैद आजाद कराने वाली कैद आजाद कराने वाली आए बाजारों में ज़ैनब पर्दा दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आए बाजारों में ज़ैनब पर्दा दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आए बाजारों में ज़ैनब पर्दा दुनिया को
سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب.
جلتے خیموں سے اٹھا لائی عباس کے بعد، جلتے خیموں سے اٹھا لائی عباس کے بعد، علی آبے تو بچانے والی، علی آبے
تو بچانے والی آئی بازاروں میں
زینب پردہ دنیا
کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں
زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی
آئی بازاروں
میں زینب پردہ دنیا
کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں
دین کی خاطر یہ بی بی سالار بنی، دین کی خاطر یہ بی بی سالار بنی، بن کے عباس دکھانے والی، بن کے عباس دکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا
کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب.
اپنے سینے پہ سکینہ کو زندانوں میں، اپنے سینے پہ سکینہ کو زندانوں میں، باد بھائی کے سلانے والی، باد بھائی کے سلانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب. جس کو سورج کی کرن نے بھی نہیں دیکھا تھا، جس کو سورج کی کرن نے بھی نہیں دیکھا تھا، آسماں کو بھی رلانے والی، آسماں کو بھی رلانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب.
یا حسین 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 یا حسین. شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے. شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے. شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے. شمع سے شمع جلے اپنی نسلوں کو سکھاتے رہو ماتم کا ہنر، سینہ در سینہ کرے بس یہ عزاداری سفر، جیسے حالات بھی ہوں یہ عمل جاری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے، شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے، شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے، جواب ایسا کرو، یہ عزاداری رہے، شمع سے شمع جلے، لاکھ بدلے یہ زمانے کی روش اور موسم، ایک پل بھی نہ رکے اشک عزا اور ماتم، ماتم شہ کا جنون ذہن پر طاری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے، شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے، شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے، شمع سے شمع جلے، تم مگر ذاکر شبیر ہو یہ یاد رہے، چاہے اس غم کے لیے سر بھی کٹے گر بھی جلے، امت فرش عزا جان سے پیاری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے، شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے، شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے، شمع سے شمع جلے، یہ سبیلے یوں ہی آباد رہے اہل عزا، اور گھر گھر بے نظر آئے علم غازی کا، یہ علم اونچا رہے یہ علمداری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے، شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے، شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے، شمع سے شمع جلے، اپنے گھر میں بھی عزا خانہ سجانا ہے مجھے، اپنے بچوں کو عزادار بنانا ہے مجھے، تاکہ اس نسل میں بھی تازیہ داری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے، شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے، ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے، شمع سے شمع جلے، یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین بولو واہ ویلا واہ ویلا واہ ویلا واہ ویلا واہ ویلا واہ ویلا اسلام نبی کا بچایا ہے، تکبیر کا دیپ جلایا ہے، قرآن کا مان بجایا ہے، توحید پہ گھر کو لٹایا ہے، شبیر کا ماتم دلگیر کا ماتم یہ اہل عزا کا ہے نوحہ واہ ویلا 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 ہم شکل پیمبر مار گیا، 6 ماہ کا اصغر مار گیا، عباس دلاور مار گیا، شبیر کا دلبر مار گیا، اکبر کا ماتم اصغر کا ماتم زینب کا لبوں پر بھی یہ صدا واہ ویلا 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 بچتا ہے جہاں پر فرش عزا، ہوتا ہے جہاں پر غم برپا، پرسے کو پہنچتی ہے زہرا، کرتی ہوئی سار میں یہ نوحہ، سرور کا ماتم گر گر کا ماتم پیاروں پہ کرتی ہے روز بکا واہ ویلا 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 یا حسین 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 یا حسین
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام على ولي الله وحبيبه، السلام على خليل الله ونجيبه، السلام على صفي الله وابن صفيه، السلام على الحسين المظلوم الشهيد، السلام على أسير الكربات وقتيل العبرات. اللهم إني أشهد أنه وليك وابن وليك وصفيك وابن صفيك، الفائز بكرامتك، أكرمته بالشهادة وحبوته بالسعادة واجتبيته بطيب الولادة وجعلته سيدا من السادة وقائدا من القادة وذائدا من الذادة، وأعطيته مواريث الأنبياء وجعلته حجة على خلقك من الأوصياء، فأعذر في الدعاء ومنح النصح وبذل مهجته فيك ليستنقذ عبادك من الجهالة وحيرة الضلالة، وقد توازر عليه من غرته الدنيا وباع حظه بالأرزل الأدنى وشرى آخرته بالثمن الأوكس وتغطرس وتردى في هواه وأسخطك وأسخط نبيك، وأطاع من عبادك أهل الشقاق والنفاق وحملة الأوزار المستوجبين النار، فجاهدهم فيك صابرا محتسبا حتى سفك في طاعتك دمه واستبيح حريمه. اللهم فلعنهم لعنا وبيلا وعذبهم عذابا أليما. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن سيد الأوصياء، أشهد أنك أمين الله وابن أمينه، عشت سعيدا ومضيت حميدا ومت فقيدا مظلوما شهيدا، وأشهد أن الله منجز ما وعدك ومهلك من خذلك ومعذب من قتلك، وأشهد أنك وفيت بعهد الله وجاهدت في سبيله حتى أتاك اليقين، فلعن الله من قتلك ولعن الله من ظلمك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. اللهم إني أشهدك أني ولي لمن والاه وعدو لمن عاداه، بأبي أنت وأمي يا ابن رسول الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك المدلهمات من ثيابها، وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المسلمين ومعقل المؤمنين، وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي، وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا، وأشهد أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي، وقلبي لقلبكم سن وأمري لأمركم متبع ونصرتي لكم معدة حتى يأذن الله لكم، فمعكم لا مع عدوكم. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وأجسادكم وشاهدكم وغائبكم وظاهركم وباطنكم آمين رب العالمين. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم المصطفى ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام على أمير المؤمنين قائد الغر المحجلين علي بن أبي طالب المرتضى ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا سيدتي ومولاتي فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا سيدي ومولاي حسن المجتبى ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام على الأئمة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين، ولا سيما صاحب العصر والزمان الحجة المهدي المنتظر عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا إمامنا إمام الإنس والجان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل مخرجك وجعلنا من شيعتك وأنصارك ومن المستشهدين بين يديك. السلام عليكم جميعا سادتي وأئمتي وعلى عباد الله الصالحين ورحمة الله وبركاته.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك تقوى وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم